Is walking good to recover from a torn ACL? The answer is no, and let me explain why. So many healthcare professionals out there will get you walking as soon as possible, and I highly disagree with this because there's something that they're missing. Let me tell you what they're missing. I have to explain the anatomy a little bit, so stick with me and follow this. Here's the right knee, here's the kneecap, thigh bones right here, shin bones right here. So you're looking at the outside of the right knee. In the knee, you have muscles that are right above the kneecap on the front of the thigh. They're called the quad muscles, quadricep muscles. You have the hamstrings in the back of the thigh, calf muscles down here. There is an imbalance that just about everyone I've ever seen in my career who's got an ACL tear, they have this imbalance present and nobody's finding it or telling them about it because they're not trained on finding it. And because they're not trained on finding it, they're not going to know how to treat it. And it carries over into walking. In the muscle imbalance, usually the quads are too dominant. They're too strong, they're being used too much, and it's because of muscles up in the hip, usually the glutes on the back of the hip, they're too weak. Their job is to stabilize the thigh bone and get it to move correctly, and if it doesn't do its job, if the glutes don't do their job, then the muscle that tends to take over is going to be the quads on the front of the thigh. And if the quads are doing too much work to stabilize the hip, because one of those quad muscles is actually a hip flexor, it crosses the hip joint. It can take over for gaining stability of the thigh bone if the glutes aren't doing their job. If those quad muscles are overactive, then it's going to cause a lot of tension, a lot of pulling on the front of the knee here, and that causes there to be compression through the knee joint. When you go walking, if your quads are working too much, and it's going to cause your knee to not move properly because your glutes aren't active like they should be. And it's going to end up putting more tension through your ACL right here. This is why it's not a good idea to go walking unless you fix this muscle imbalance. But if nobody's ever taught you about the muscle imbalance, if you don't know about this, if this is all brand new information to you and you're trying to go walk, like walking for time, walking for miles, like you're trying to get a workout by walking in hopes of helping your ACL recover faster, then it's a bad idea. Because if you haven't fixed the muscle imbalance, then what's happening is when you go walking, if you're not conscious about using your glutes better, you're going to default to using your quads more, and then you're just going to feed the muscle imbalance. You're going to get your quads stronger the longer that you walk, the more time you spend on your feet walking, your quads are just going to be active more and more, and that's going to increase the pressures here, which is going to increase the tension on your ACL. This is what sets up chronic knee pain, things like patellofemoral pain syndrome, chondromalacia patella. Think about it. If those quads are pulling too much, they're just going to yank that kneecap further against the thigh bone in the front. It's going to cause tendonitis. It's going to be pulling on the tendon here or maybe above here. It can cause bursitis. There's bursa in the area. It can cause so many other problems. In the long term, after years, maybe decades pass, you can be set up to have osteoarthritis. Oh, and I forgot to mention, your poor meniscus right here, this bluish thing right here, it gets squashed when those quads are pulling too much, and it can cause a meniscus tear too. It is not a good idea to be walking for exercise if you've suffered an ACL tear, or if you're past doing all the treatment for an ACL reconstruction surgery, you're no longer seeing the doctor and the PT and you're just trying to walk. If you're still dealing with knee pain, there's a high probability that your chronic knee pain after your ACL reconstruction is because of this muscle imbalance. The only time that I tell people, go ahead and go walk for exercise if you've had an ACL tear, or if you've had an ACL reconstruction in the past, is if you fix this muscle imbalance and we are certain that you're using your muscles correctly when you're walking. There's certain foot muscles and definitely the glutes and even abdominal muscles that you should be using when walking so that we can confidently be sure that you're not feeding into this muscle imbalance that's going to cause you problems, chronic knee problems, for years to come.